Welcome to this 100th video special, and it came around a lot sooner than I thought it was going to. I actually didn't realize at all that there had been 100 videos, and then I just happened to notice the number on my channel where it says how many videos you've done, and I saw it was on like 95, 96, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to like watch out so I don't go past 100 without like recognizing it. So I was thinking about what to do for this 100 video special, and I thought actually it would be quite nice just to see how the videos have progressed and seen where they started and where they are now. So what I've done is taken a 10 to 20 minute section of each video and put them all together for you to see the sort of journey from the first video to the most recent video, which is my antinatalism around the world in America with Amanda. Admittedly, all the clips I've put together actually only come around 86. And that's because of two things. First thing is there are a couple of unlisted videos on the channel which apparently still count towards the total, and then also I haven't done lives because was I watching through all of the lives I've done and taking a 10-second clip? Was I fuck? So the lives are not included, but I think 86 clips is a decent enough chunk. Thank you for watching the videos from 1 to 100. You know, I found it really fun to make them. It's been really interesting. I've learned a lot. It's been really nice to see people's comments and stuff down below, engaging with them and having some back and forths with people. And I've met quite a few people through making the videos. So I think, yeah, let's get on with watching the clips.
Hey everyone, Lawrence here. So I'm just making this super quick video just to let anyone know that does happen to watch this, although I don't think many people will, that I intend to start uploading to this channel.
Voy a la playa, ya subió la marea. A Sevilla. Y al último, que cuando ya salió la bien de regla, estamos llorando los dos. Me cobró el tío la...
¿Ah? ¿Направление? Какое направление?
If we don't procreate, that spark of life that's been passed on unextinguished for billions of years is gonna go. Tragic.
You do see that as a tragic thing?
No, not at all. I think
okay.
I like being a terminal bud on my family tree.
It's not like you're doing it for the kid's sake. The kid doesn't want to be born. Like, the kid doesn't exist. You can philosophize about it all you want, but at the end of the day, like, why is that child being born? Because you made the decision, you want it to happen. If you know that actually physically going and killing an animal yourself is going to make you more aware of the moral crime that you're committing and then hence stop you doing it, why do it in the first place? You don't need to go out and do some sort of blood sacrifice so that you can become like ethically awakened.
So for example, education, healthcare, access to clean water, stuff like that, it would technically reduce populations and economic equality and all this stuff. Like, yeah, more women's rights will reduce populations, or at least there's a correlation.
They thought it was kind of okay to create someone, then they have like a few short days of suffering, you know, but at least the parents benefited from it. Like, I just think that is such a sick way of viewing others.
I guess your position values suffering so much and it doesn't place much value on well-being. And I think that is unreasonable.
Only from the standpoint of someone who doesn't exist already.
I think I wore these once. I might have slept in them, really? To be fair,
okay.
But it was super uncomfortable.
Yeah. I bet you looked fit in those.
Christ.
Yeah, welcome to another conversation, I guess, and this is between me and Helena, and we're going to talk about whether antinatalists should be vegan or if there's not really any link there.
Think about even here in our own country. Think about slavery. At some point, it ended.
Think about all those bad things. Well, they ended. Oh, well, that's all right then. That's all right. Yeah, basically, straight from the start, they fucked me in the edit. So let's get into it.
Okay, yesterday I was discussing having kids.
Even though I think these are identifiably different groups and there are key distinctions between them, I don't want to play into any tribalism between these groups.
So this is my entry to the Why Are You an Antinatalist contest, and I thought I'd do it outdoors because I haven't written a script or anything like that.
If you know that the world is a messed up place and it's likely to get more messed up, what are you doing bringing a kid here? The amazing lives that everyone has and the prosperity of the city are all sourced in a basement below the city of Omelas, where there's a small child suffering.
Even in those cases where you have people who would be born with serious illnesses or bodily defects or genetic defects, which would perhaps involve a lot of suffering, even then, to bring that human being into existence is something that is good.
How can it be selfish to not bring a life into the world that doesn't exist on any level? It's not as a long sort of cabinet full of potential ghost fetuses going, we want to be born, right?
So in this clip, and obviously all of these clips are going to be jokes, so maybe I look like a bit of a knobhead for taking them seriously, but I think there are some serious points in them.
And then also being perhaps totally responsible for their death, this is too much for me.
So I think in this clip, Yuval talks about three key things that I think antinatalists always talk about. Welcome to another conversation. So here, today I'm joined with Benedictines the vegan.
Okay, I'm going to just pause.
Welcome back to another video, and today we're looking at this article, which is it okay to have kids if they would be better off not existing?
I don't know, I guess just through going through life, but also like through psychedelic experiences have definitely kind of given me what I feel is like a greater insight into the nature of like existence and stuff.
We bring children in this world and we raise them to be warriors against evil.
I'm getting major edgelord vibes from this guy now. So raising people to be warriors against darkness. I mean, this guy is like an extra out of Lord of the Rings.
You shall not pass!
So how this came around was that Unnatural Vegan made a video recently about when she went to a vegan market with her family and she saw some activists there, or she saw that there was a stall there from the organization Stop Having Kids. Your family's reaction if they know about it?
My mom, yes, but my father, no. When she was alive, because I told you my mom passed away, when she was alive, I said to her,
it's so stupid because I was a vegan and before then I was a preachy lefty and also a keyboard atheist. And there's obviously a ton of negative like stereotypes about all of those groups, all of which I embodied, by the way.
Did you receive a lot of support, or were your family kind of like, he's a madman, you know, he's extreme? What was all that like?
For my sisters, it made sense. I think because they have kids.
Is Morrissey an antinatalist? So a good place to start would be his 1991 song, I'm the End of the Family Line, which I think clearly points towards the fact that he's not going to be having biological kids himself.
Vegan antinatalists, I mean, we're talking about a very small group of people here.
Yeah.
And classical composers are like a super tiny number of people. My guess would be that if there are vegan antinatalists who are expressing themselves in music out there, they're probably in like metal bands.
Well, there was the intersectionals and the sort of anti-intersectionals, and maybe there was like a group of people in the middle who were like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on? I'm here for a good time."
So yeah, I think those two issues, quote unquote, intersect quite well. However, obviously, what we're going to talk about today,
basically, the stories of how I became vegan and antinatalist kind of intertwine. And I was thinking about like, what is the point at which there was like the most significant moment for it to start from?
Right, so welcome to another conversation, and this one's a bit of a barbecue because David's about to get roasted.
All of the wealthy nations are not growing, which is not true, but that's the perspective people have, that our birth rate is below replacement level, which is a ridiculous concept anyway.
And people just say like, yeah, but that's just part of life and I want to create someone. Like, it's not even for a noble cause. Like, it's just for them to satisfy some like brute desire they have.
You do hear people say this once in a while, and no, this is, of course, we know, a defeatist attitude.
Life contains a significant amount of suffering and ultimately death as well.
So a lot of women are saying we're also voting with our ovaries.
Like this is how we not really fight, but just like a this is how we work against this system.
If there are dark times and you think that they need to be combated, why are you recruiting through like mandatory conscription your child to do that? Why don't you be the warrior instead of imposing the bad times on someone else?
I'm doing this for my son. The government's inaction on climate change is a death sentence to us all.
And there's something this woman said in this video which I don't think many people picked up on.
Who is to know whose child is destined to actually save this world? It might be yours.
That's right. It might be your child specifically. You watching this video now, if you have a kid, it might be your child that saves the world.
I am the Messiah! He is! He is the Messiah!
Can parents really know whether their children will be glad to have been created or not? He knows that even if parents do try their best, some of the kids that were created will end up making the judgment that it would have been better if they hadn't actually been created in the first place. I actually think that this story reflects an ethical decision that actually most of us will face, and that is having children. When we create someone, we really don't know how their life is going to turn out.
There were public statements of Russian authorities which were against child-free so-called ideology.
They usually look to see how old you are. So if you're usually like under 30 or between like 30 and 35, so like below that age bracket, you're definitely like bumped down the list of priorities.
Stop Having Kids Instagram account was just suspended and they've got 30 days to appeal that.
It's not really about activism. It's not really about philosophy. It's great that our numbers have increased, but it's a lot of whining. It's great that our numbers have increased, but it's not really it's not doing much.
So some of the way through the conversation, Sam says something about the emergence of artificial intelligence, but he says something that is very antinatalist, and I don't think he realizes this.
If we create robots that really can suffer, that would be a bad thing. Well, then we could find ourselves creating conscious minds that are miserable, right? And that's just like creating a person who's miserable. If anything is bad, creating hell and populating it with real minds that really can suffer in that hell, that's bad.
Sam there is making the risk argument for antinatalism. If we create someone, they could end up in that class of person. What Peter Singer puts forward here, I think, is basically the antinatalist take on long-termism. Now, he starts by talking about the bullying of Bogani Mayosi, who was the Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Cape Town, which Benatar says led him to actually commit suicide. Through antinatalism, it made me realize there is not really any point of us to continue to create each other. Like, I don't see any benefit to that, and a lot of harm comes from it. You know, think of every war, every person who's tortured, every child who's on a cancer ward. There's really no point for them being there. They were just created, and now those things just happen.
Some philosophers think that we don't have an obligation to ensure that future people exist. Rather, we have an obligation to say that if people exist in future, we don't do anything that will harm them.
Imagine you're walking through the woods, you accidentally drop a bottle, and there's some broken glass there. Welcome to this 1,000 subscriber Ask Me Almost anything. You were saying that the government has, promoted childbirth, but it hasn't actually worked. Is there sort of, are people scared about this? Or is this just the government are scared?
I mean, from day one, it's all me, isn't it? Feed me, clothe me, pay for my chemotherapy. No. Luck of the draw, boy. Luck of the draw.
He talks about a kid needing chemotherapy, which obviously he makes a joke. It's luck of the draw. And I don't think many people in the audience would have clicked with this. Yeah, it is luck of the draw. So imagine Robert. He's just a regular guy and he's wrongfully imprisoned. Completely make up in your head what it could be. It could be a political prisoner, or it could just be a misunderstanding or something like that. So clearly Robert has been harmed by this action. He's had his liberty restricted. Often people accuse someone who either doesn't have kids or is arguing against procreation, saying that they are being selfish, and usually they say that that's because you're depriving someone of the opportunity of life or the gift of life. So the first thing I think Thinking Ape kind of gets wrong here is talking about non-existence as a state. Today I'm joined by Lenny and Simon, and we're going to be talking about antinatalism in Germany. And again, if they're not fit enough to have had the sterilization, why would we assume they're fit enough to raise a whole human being?
Today, for the UK, I wanted to speak with one of the most knowledgeable, intelligent, articulate, and handsome antinatalists out there. But that's enough about me. So I've got Lawrence on to speak.
She taught me a tiny bit of Finnish that I'm about to butcher now. So please, all Finns watching, cover your ears right now. So I think it is, from memory, Minä rikastan sinua, larski pese, which I think means I love you, fat ass. I think people are not fully appreciating the counterfactual scenario when they simply would just never have existed. So in Singer's thought experiment, he just says, let's accept for the sake of argument, there is a child in the pond. But we need to ask ourselves, why are they in the pond? And the reason they're in the pond is because people put them there. Did you start traveling first, or did you become antinatalist first? Which way round was it?
I think I've always been antinatalist, even before I knew what the term meant.
I think that those people who put up the billboard need to follow their own advice and not have any more kids. We raise our kids to fear God and we shoot them out.
If you believe in hell, there's no guarantee that the person you create is going to follow the path of God.
A child is like an arrow in the hand of a mighty warrior. Pew! We shoot them out. We train them up. We raise our kids to fear God and we shoot them out. When we go and meet with our enemy at the gates, we have an arsenal.
He's talking about kids as if they're like weapons. We need to talk about extreme antinatalism. I wanted to make a response video to this article because I think there are some key misunderstandings about antinatalism and what it means. And also another thing that she talks about in the article, pro-mortalism, the basic thing that I say to religious people about antinatalism. Okay, it's cool for you to have your religion, but obviously you shouldn't be imposing it on others.
In fact, we are perpetuating his suffering by not killing him now. For he will no doubt go on to become an adult and suffer even more pain. Save him now through a quick and painless death.
Okay, yeah, so Brit Monkey has just completely gone off on one, doesn't know what he's talking about.
Cut off their penis, sew the whole thing up, and just tuck it away, and then in one generation we will be done with this kind of foolishness.
These guys have clearly done no research into stop having kids.
I asked the question, are you happy? Just left it open, kind of like let them judge what happiness means. Had 299 responses. 94% said they're happy. Now, if you take a general population and ask, are you happy? It's a lot less than 94%.
Yeah. He talks about the impact on children. Now, I really don't think he's been weighing up all of the appropriate things that need to be weighed up here. Antinatalism in New Zealand. And for Sarah, it is the evening. And for me, it's the very early morning. Well, I say very early morning. It depends when you usually get up. But for me, it's a bit early. What is wrong with extinction?
My question is, what is wrong with extinction?
And certainly if you have an antinatalist conclusion that it's a bad thing to bring sentient beings into existence, it can lead to some quite depressing and pessimistic thoughts. But it's rather that while we should try and make our own lives good and help the sentient beings that are here, because of the suffering and the risk of suffering that we've been talking about now, we don't think that we should be imposing that risk of suffering. And not just really risk, but the inevitable suffering.
Can anybody here answer the simple question, what is the problem with extinction? You don't want to die? Well, I've got some really bad news for you. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, that as much as you don't want to die, you are going to die.
Even if the world had a tiny population, do you think that they should still continue reproducing? Because in my eyes, even if they have an amazing life, I think that's good for them, but it doesn't make sense to me to bring more people into the world. So these essays are Antinatalism and the Future of Suffering by Magnus and Strategic Considerations for Moral Antinatalists by Brian. Surely the degenerate thing to do, the evil thing to do, the narcissistic thing to do is to force someone into that. Looking at the world as it is, looking at the array of things that could and will happen to your child. I think this was long overdue, this one. So I'm glad that we've now done it.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Always a pleasure.
So that was 1 to 100. Thanks so much for watching this video, but also the actual videos rather than just a 10-20 second clip from them. I've got a lot more planned for the future. It's almost like every video I make, I get sort of 2 new ideas. It's just a matter of time of when to produce them, all of this sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I guess this is the 100th video. So I will see you in 101.